So, some people think Anthony Edwards has regressed as a player from years prior, but if you switch your perspective just a little bit, you would see that it's not a regression, it's simply a change of route to the same destination. If we compare his averages this year compared to last, Ant is averaging more points at 27 points a game, and although his field goal percentage has taken a slight dip from 46% to 44%, if we look at his 3-point stats, Ant has upped his attempts from 6.7 a game to 10.1 per game, while pouring them in at a high clip of 41%. This here shows you that not only has Ant switched his approach, he's also polished his mechanics. Nowadays, players are leaning away from flashy dunks and being all in the air because of the risk of injury, and with the league centered more around 3-point shooting, it's either adapt or be lost in the sauce. And hey, one thing we know about Ant, he loves to be saucy on the court, and if he has to snipe you from deep to stay in the mix, well, he will do so. I know a lot of people may not like his new playstyle and will start to say he looks less aggressive, and I feel you. I can't say you're wrong for thinking that, because at times it does seem like Ant isn't pushing the issue like he did last year. But let's think about it for a second. When you trade his star counterpart in Karl Anthony Towns and leave him with not many real shooters, he now has to not only take advantage of being a full leader on this team and main scorer, but he also has to be the one to send more shots up from deep while connecting at a high clip. With this much improved shooting, the amount of space here is just enough for him to get into his shot, as he's simply unbothered by the contest. You'll see these times where 3 defenders are all locked in on him with 2 right in his face, but with no hesitation, it's like Ant doesn't even see him, and it's another one for 3 points. When you're dealing with players that will immediately launch it from deep, you can't allow any room to be given, because with getting hung up trying to get around the screen, and Vucevic steady backpedaling to stay with Gobert on the roll, this is just inviting Ant to the cookout, and he for sure is going to grab a 3-course entree.
For 3, he should participate in the 3-point contest.
This level of confidence does wonders for a player, as they'll rise up out of nowhere to cash in from deep. And even if you are to shade a double at him when he starts to pull up, well, like that last play we just seen a second ago, Ant doesn't care whatsoever.
Fires over 2 defenders. Took them both down.
Now I understand, some of these can actually be bad shots when you're resorting to taking a 3 over 3 defenders opposed to swinging the ball to find a teammate. But the thing is, when you have that reputation of pulling up at any time, you're now able to use that up fake to make the defender get on the trampoline, and with a quick handoff to get the ball back, Ant can now pull up with relative ease. Now, just how we've seen Ant give the ball up to get it back to get into an open shot, that exact skill is something we've seen Edwards improve on a lot this year if you watch closely. The off-ball movement has been nothing short of spectacular, as on this play, Ant walks Williams down into the paint to then push off him to launch off this screen from Gobert, and since Williams has to go around the outside of Rui to get to Ant, you're going to see Edwards throw in a slight sidestep to create an even larger gap for Williams to cover, and this one right here is straight cash. Once you understand how to move without the ball and react to what your defender does, this is when you can see opportunities to flare out rather than continuing up the floor, which would result in Ant running into Booker, and now you have a wide open shot. I like to call this skill hide and seek, because at this exact moment, George could easily get out to Ant to contest the shot. But with Ant realizing he could be found, he decides to hide deeper in the corner off the screen to make George chase after him, and although this doesn't end in a 3, Ant is able to get George in the air due to that 3-point threat, and then the pull up in the mid-range is buttered. I understand that people get tired of seeing the 3-ball go up time and time again, but just because someone is opting into shooting it from deep doesn't mean it can't be entertaining. I mean, you tell me, when Ant uses that nasty snatchback to make Brunch and Cha-Cha slide, you can't say this isn't amusing.
Back, fires away from 3, gets another.
These snatchbacks generate so much space because the defender is so worried about that lethal driving game of his, so once they do try and recover, he's already locked in. It's already bad enough that he can shake guards with this move, but when you allow a big to be switched onto him, you might as well chalk it up. Anytime Ant gets that mismatch to embarrass a big, he'll make sure to show you why you can't allow a switch, because let's be honest, this amount of room given up off a step back is truly embarrassing and makes your defense just look like a joke. I know those last plays show him taking advantage of the bigs, but trust me, it doesn't matter if he has someone his size on him either, as he'll get saucy with that handle, making KCP go fishing in an empty lake, and bada bing, it's money team. So yeah, is he taking a lot of 3s? Of course, he puts up 10 a game. But when you see all the ways he can create an open look, it should show you the growth and elevation to his game. I mean, think about it. We all know those guys who could only drive but couldn't shoot as good, and look how their careers panned out. If we're being honest, shooting is one of those things you need to have longevity in today's league. And even more than that, now with Ant being a threat from the outside, this makes him even more of a difficult cover for the opposing team. Take this play for an example. With the thought of Ant pulling up from deep on the defense's mind, Buddy Hield is going to aggressively switch on this screen, but with momentum being in Ant's favor going downhill, he blows past Hield with ease, but look right here, Steph is slid over for the help, And although Ant could finish over him with no problem, this is why having the option to hit that mid-range is so important. I'm sure all of us have heard those people complain time and time again that the mid-range is such a bad shot, and honestly, I would argue that they don't understand basketball to the fullest. Now, is this me saying that the mid-range is the greatest shot ever? Nah, not at all. But in basketball, you must have many moves and shots in your arsenal that can defeat any defensive scheme. With his three-point shooting being much improved, defenders will get up tight on him to take this away, and then with a help defender to the right and a help defender in the paint, a drop to the basket isn't really available. So what does Edwards do? He opts into a turnaround fade for pure butter. This ability to be crafty in that area can open up a ton of shots for Ant simply because the defense will start to play the drive heavy, and that's when he can throw in a step back to catch him off guard. You'll see here versus Utah, Ant aggressively attacks Clarkson towards the middle of the floor, but with Markkanen closing in and Clarkson on his hip, a drive into the paint would not only be crowded, but if we let the film roll a little bit, you're going to see another defender step to the middle of the floor. Now, if we were analyzing his passing skills, this kick out to Nasri would be a perfect option since there's no one around to contest. But right now, we're focused on his scoring, and this here is why being confident and working on your game pays off, as Ant serves that step back with a slight push off to knock down the jumper. Now look, don't lie, can you kinda see why the mid-range is a skill everyone should have? I'm not saying you have to lean on it, as Ant needs to improve his efficiency in this area along with his shot selection, but you should always be able to use it in a time of need. Now with defenders worried about the outside shot and have to look out for the in-between shot, here's where the foundation of his game comes to shine, and that is the ability to get downhill and finish at the rim. Sort of like that same play we seen earlier with Ant attacking Buddy Hield aggressively off the screen, Ant does it this time to Williams, and unlike last time where he gave Steph Curry mercy, Ant decides to take it right at Vucevic in the paint, and Euro, here we go.
And a steam splits the defense, got the lay-in.
It's truly a nightmare for anyone who has to guard him, because look, you now have to guard him up extra high, but all this does is allow him to get a head of steam when pushing to the basket, and with that speedy ass, he's able to detach from his defender while in pursuit to the rim, and all they can do is foul and watch the ball fall through the bucket.
Count it and put him on the...
When you watch Anthony Edwards play and compare him to guards around the league, it's not like he's the quickest or fastest guy ever, but it's that ability to be a threat from everywhere on the floor that gives him that leverage to leave his defenders in the dust. For the defense, they need to give themselves a step or two to contain him when he's rushing off these screens, because as we've seen so far, they're never really able to stay in front of him when he's coming at them head on. And hey, if I'm the rim protector in this moment, I can't lie, I would be pretty mad that you set me up like this.
Edwards drives inside and throws it down and a foul.
Yeah boy, it gets nasty when Ant is attacking the rim with pure aggression. I know this is something everyone wants to see from him more often, and I understand exactly why. When he chooses to split the defense with his swiftness off the screen to then feed a Euro to avoid the big, this one will make you widen your eyes. When he uses that low carry to split the defense to go get a bucket, it makes you realize how crafty he is when navigating to the rim. And when he can break past the defender denying him the ball 30 plus feet away from the basket, he makes you get out your seat with this slam.
Edwards, right down, hit a pin.
Yeah, it's just too many ways Ant can attack the defense now, and it's made him a more versatile scorer. With this team not having the chemistry they did last year, it does kind of mess with his game, and at times he should be more aggressive and take charge, but with the route he's going, he's not only going to be a deadly sniper, he's going to be one of the most difficult players to guard in the NBA. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you're first to know when I upload. I thank you all for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.